United States submarine base at Key West, Florida. A dispatch that quoted President Truman's press secretary, Charles Ross, as saying that President Truman has no knowledge of any secret project by this government that would give substance to the existence of such objects. Ross also said that both the Air Force and the Navy deny that such
Hi.
Hi.
Let's fix this from last time. Hey, what's up? My name is Noelle, and I am currently on my journey to owning firearms.
Ooh, and I'm Chelsea. I am an itchy, flaky tattoo that is healing. But I am supporting Noelle also in her journey to own firearms because we want to be in the gay military.
Yeah, so before we actually get into this episode, even though I know we said we were going to do it quick so it wasn't a million years long, Chelsea sent me a profile this morning that's the queer militia, basically. It's armed queers, I think, is what it is. And they're the ones who, and it's so funny because I think I even said this on the Patreon, how I want to be at the counter protest in a bulletproof vest with a trans flag on it, holding a gun out in public, bearing my arms. And that's what this group literally does. They're the ones who are at the counter protest. They're in front of the Planned Parenthoods counter protesting the protesters, and they're all queer and they're all heavily armed. And you know what? So I gave Chelsea some reading, which we also mentioned in the Patreon, about the Black Panther Party. And you know what is true, tried and true, and it also kind of plays into this episode a little bit.
Gun violence.
You have to speak the language of the oppressor for them to hear you.
Yes.
So if that means you have to be strapped the fuck up because they're that strapped the fuck up, mama, that's what it is. And I think it's our right to use our cis whiteness to be the ones to bear arms, because there are people who don't feel comfortable or can't because of circumstances or situations.
I think this is the best way to be an advocate right now. It's you don't even have to have a gun and go to a rally or anything. That's not what I'm saying. If you're not comfortable with that kind of interaction, especially bringing a gun to another gun rally, but just being in this space and owning guns and upping those statistics.
Yeah, taking space in.
Yep.
Pretend I'm holding your finger with my two fingers, and we're holding space.
And then my third finger is on the trigger.
Is on the trigger. Oh my god, it's so true. So yeah, just big things happening. I mean, we've talked about it here. We are pro your right to bear arms. I speak for both of us when I say we're not fans of the average civilian being able to buy a fucking military made for human destruction and annihilation semi-automatic machine gun or anything, but you should definitely exercise your right to bear arms. And I will say, call me a hypocrite, girl. When I see that queer group strapped the fuck up with their balaclavas and their AR-15s and their fucking rainbow flag patches, in the American flag, but rainbow or trans-colored, I'm bro, okay, maybe guns are cool.
That makes me proud to be an American the most.
Yeah, I was screeching, dude. I was screeching like an eagle. I felt it sometimes. Well, here, I mean, this is the thing, right? When I see these alt-right manosphere dudes rocking the military garb and the AAKs, I'm holy shit, that's scary. This country is going to hell. We're doomed. I see a queer person in the same garb, but swapping out the American flag for a rainbow colored flag, dude. I'm patriotic. I'm put me on the back of a Humvee. I'm feeling it. I'm an eagle. Same. I am freedom. So
well, and I've been to Planned Parenthood protests. I went to one last summer or 2 summers ago by myself, and there was a guy there facing the protesters with his hand, no trigger discipline, by the way, with an AK-47 and he's standing right in front of me. And I'm like, I'm not intimidated by that. And he's like, you shouldn't be. I'm only here for your protection. I'm like, why are you facing me then?
Yeah.
Like, I think at the very least, familiarizing yourself with firearms is very good, even if you don't want to own one, but you should know the operations and the mechanics of one because they are relying on people being intimidated by them.
Yeah.
And that's something that you're just, I mean, I'll go on an airplane if you get over your fear of guns collectively. Like, that's something that you just have to do exposure therapy for because it's going to be nonsense here in the next little bit.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I definitely need exposure therapy. So, yeah, that's basically that on that.
Yeah. So
let's talk about other things that we need to be exposed to.
Yeah, this one's going to be, I hope it's fun. It should be more informative. Bummer that it's not a conspiracy, even though, you know what? We'll just let the episode speak for itself. Let's jump into it.
Please.
Noelle, I want to take you on a journey.
Can't
and
wait.
I want you to picture this. It's 1944.
Oh, don't like it already.
Already not having a good time.
Bad time.
The night is deathly silent, and a blanket of darkness is draped over the European countryside. Who wouldn't want to be a European in the 1940s?
I would guess a few million.
Quite a bit. Above, Allied planes slice through the void like phantoms on a mission unlike any other. But they're not dropping bombs tonight. No explosions, no craters. Just a storm of paper. Millions of fragile slips tumbling through the night sky. But these are no ordinary leaflets. They are, in fact, psychological weapons, disguised as Nazi memos or laced with devastating truths about the war, crafted to creep into the minds of the German people and detonate their faith in the Führer. These scraps of paper hit the ground not with force, but with a psychological payload, infiltrating homes, gnawing at loyalties, and fracturing hearts. It's a quiet attack, yet devastatingly effective. A campaign waged in whispers rather than roars. And this is the raw essence of psychological warfare. A battlefield where the mind is the target and words and ideas become ammunition. But to truly grasp the diabolical brilliance of psyops, we must dive deeper into history, into the ancient shadows where this craft was born. Across centuries and continents, the human mind has always been the ultimate prize in the eternal war for power. Let's get it. The war for the mind did not actually begin over the skies of Europe, so I'm sorry for making you start kind of in the middle.
Yeah, thanks for that.
It's actually an ancient art, which is as old as conflict itself. Long before planes scattered propaganda over battlefields, rulers and warriors wielded fear, deception, and influence to bend entire populations to their will. From gods on shields to ghost armies in the dark, ancient psyops laid the foundation for the psychological warfare we see today. The Battle of Pelusium was not merely a skirmish between Persia and Egypt, but it was a masterclass in cultural exploitation as a weapon of war. Persian king Cambyses II wielded understanding of, I hope that's right.
Yeah, I hope it is too.
Understanding of Egyptian religion and psychology as effectively as the soldiers wielded swords. Knowing that Egyptians revered cats and associated them with the goddess Bastet, a protector of home and fertility, Cambyses orchestrated a plan that would exploit this sacred relationship to devastating effect. Before the battle, Persian soldiers painted images of Bastet on their shields and carried cats, dogs, and other animals considered sacred by Egyptians into the battlefield.
Hey, that's fucking insane.
Yeah, that would work on me today.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm fucking attacking a puppy army.
I know. I'd be like, I guess I died today.
Yeah, first, I can't get close enough to the cats because I'm too allergic.
That is
I'm
a weapon
weak.
in itself, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually biological warfare, slightly different. But if someone came out with like puppies, I'd be like, did this just get awesome? Or are we switching sides? But they painted all of these animals on the shields, and then they also put Bastet's likeness, which was really unthinkable sacrilege to the Egyptians at the time. As historian Carl Seaver noted, that the Egyptians revered cats to such an extent that harming one was not only unpatriotic, but was a violation of divine law. This ingenious psychological maneuver shattered the Egyptians' resolve, leaving them to their defeat without a full-scale clash. And this tactic demonstrates one of the most foundational principles of psyops, leveraging the cultural and psychological values of your opponent to create paralysis. In this case, Cambyses exploited a deeply ingrained societal norm, forcing Egyptian soldiers to make the impossible choice between defending their homeland and betraying their gods. By turning the Egyptian strength and their unwavering faith into their Achilles heel, the Persians won a decisive victory with very minimal bloodshed. And this battle marked one of the earliest recorded examples of cultural knowledge as a weapon in psychological warfare.
Before I go to my part, you mentioned where was it? The like fake armies in the night in the beginning paragraph. Wasn't that the Romans? Like
we do get into some Roman stuff. Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you get there then. My question for you and everyone listening, have you read The Art of War?
Not fully. I've seen the quotes online, but I will say that the Art of War graphic novel has been in my Amazon wish list for forever. Now I got to go find it locally and destroy my Amazon account.
Yeah, that would actually be such a cool read. I have this totally. I've read The Art of War, but I also have Deadpool's Art of War. That doesn't count though. But same energy. So The Art of War was written between 475 and 221 BCE during the Warring States period in China. And there's a quote from it that says, "All warfare is based on deception." And it feels like another branch of developing psychological warfare. Off that quote, he goes in to explain how success in warfare often depends not on sheer brute force, but on outmaneuvering an opponent through deceitful cunning and misdirection. In this context, extending far beyond lines, but crafting perceptions to control how the enemy views a situation so they act in ways that serve your interest. Sun Tzu recommended appearing strong when weak and weak when strong to confuse the enemy's decision-making, acknowledging human biases and the tendency to respond to perceived threats, and manipulating their perceptions. When used successfully, a commander can guide the enemy into making critical errors, like dividing their forces, which makes me think of every horror movie when they're like, "What was that? Let's split up."
Yeah.
Underestimating their opponent or launching ill-timed attacks. There is also where we get adaptive strategies like striking when the enemy is unprepared or concentrating force when they are the weakest. And he also wrote, "Attack him where he is unprepared, appear where you are not expected." And that's like one of the oldest like manuals of war.
This just reminds me of the Shane Gillis, like George Washington thing where he crosses the Delaware and they're like, "Oh, it's Big George." But that really is it. Like,
yeah, they were like, "Oh, this screaming like schizophrenic man with like human teeth that he stole from slaves and wooden and cow teeth is terrifying."
Exactly. And they were like, "He'll never attack on Christmas." So he's like, "We got to attack these motherfuckers on Christmas." It's crazy. Like, that psyops is not new.
No. You can go.
Oh, sorry. I'm just looking. I'm like, you did so good. So let's look into more evidence or more examples of psyops in time. So in the 13th century, Genghis Khan and his Mongol Empire revolutionized the concept of psychological warfare by using fear as their primary weapon. While their military might was undeniable, the Mongols' ability to manipulate perception allowed them to conquer vast territories with far fewer battles than one might expect. The Mongols intentionally spread tales of their brutality by sparing a handful of survivors in devastated towns. These survivors, in turn, would recount the horrors they had witnessed, the massacres, the burning cities, and the overwhelming force of the Mongol armies. This narrative traveled faster than the Mongol horde itself, leading many cities to surrender at the mere mention of Genghis Khan's name. So, quote, "The Mongols didn't just conquer armies," historian Jack Weatherford writes, in Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World. They conquered fear, and fear conquered nations. And to amplify their fear tactics, the Mongols employed theatrical displays of power. During the night marches, so I guess not quite Romans, Genghis Khan started it.
I was close. Maybe the Romans did it too. Someone else did it.
Girl, I wrote this on NyQuil and Sudafed. I do not remember who did what. But during the night marches, each soldier would light 3 torches, creating the illusion of an army 3 times larger. Mongol archers used specially designed whistling arrows that screamed through the air, terrifying, adding a psychological edge to their already formidable assault. And additionally, their psychological siege tactics were unparalleled because they catapulted severed heads over city walls, not only to demoralize defenders, but to spread disease amongst the besieged populations. And the genius of Genghis Khan's psyops lay in its economy. By leveraging terror and deception, the Mongols avoided protracted sieges and costly battles, and they conserved resources while expanding their empire at a breathtaking pace. But unlike Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great wielded psychological operations as a tool for unification rather than domination. After conquering territories stretching from Greece to India, Alexander implemented a policy of cultural integration, often referred to as Hellenization. His strategy was revolutionary, where instead of subjugating his enemies through fear, he co-opted their loyalty through a shared identity. Alexander encouraged his soldiers to marry local women and adopted elements of the cultures he conquered and blended those into Greek traditions. This approach fostered the goodwill amongst conquered populations, and it transformed them into allies rather than resentful subjects. And he saw that loyalty was earned more loyalty was more enduring than loyalty imposed. Loyalty earned better than loyalty imposed.
There you go.
Writes historian Arrian in the Campaigns of Alexander. And one of Alexander's most significant psychological victories occurred in Egypt. By presenting himself as a liberator rather than a conqueror, God, why does that sound familiar to our current climate? And embracing Egyptian customs, he was proclaimed as a pharaoh and a god. This psychological integration allowed him to secure the loyalty of the Egyptians without significant resistance. And his psyops demonstrated the versatility of psychological warfare. While fear can break an enemy's will to resist, empathy and integration into your weird white nationalist politics can really build bridges that endure across the Nazi extremism all the way into the fucking White House.
Yeah, dude, it's very real. Wouldn't you even say unrelated to current? Actually, it's unrelated to current events, but is a metaphor throughout time. Wouldn't you say that the Trojan horse is also like a form of psychological warfare?
Oh, for sure. I would say for sure, like giving gifts just to have the gifts full of murder.
Yeah, or to even like, I don't know, think about it in like a more philosophical, like you as the person, like you as the head of something, appearing to be like a gift and prosperity and success, and then but you actually know that you're fucking evil.
Oh, you know what? It just reminds me of like Neil Gaiman, what's going on right now, or like Joss Whedon, these guys who sit there and try to write empowering women's pieces and act like they're men of the women and that they're down for the cause. And then they turn out to be some of the most horrific abusers in the game, using their power to become infallible.
Yeah, that's like the physical human manifestation of the Trojan horse.
And it's disgusting.
Yeah, I would even say fucking Trump, dude. Like, he is playing on the fears of like scarcity and economy, and he knows that like the population is upset, and so he's like, dude, you guys listen to me, I'm the solution, I hear you, like come with me. But really it's all nefarious to like do mass fucking deportation and create like American concentration camps for immigrants.
Oh, padding his pockets, getting his friends rich, all of it.
Yeah. Ugh. It's like, it's another human Trojan horse.
We should do a Trojan horse shirt where it's in the White House and inside of it is all of the cabinet. That would be hard to draw. Never mind.
That would be, but that would, I love the idea where you're going.
Yes.
Like, that's literally it. Like the current Trojan horse that has like Trump is the outside, but inside of him is like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and what's it? Bezos, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Is inside of him.
Instead of the Roman or the Trojan horse, it's the Trojan elephant representation of the Republican Party, and inside of it is just a Nazi flag.
Oh, that's good. This is making me think of much easier to draw.
Much easier.
This is making me think of like old school, like 90s political cartoons and
That's
newspapers.
Exactly like a Bagley drawing. Like
Yeah.
Bagley's probably the most famous Utah cartoonist. So
wow, really good stuff. Okay. Anyway, we can go back
Anyway.
we can go back to this.
In ancient China, Zhuge Liang, I already know. I'm so sorry, everybody.
Why didn't you put the fucking...
Because I was like, I read the pronunciation, and in my mind, I'm like, it's not hard. And I just had faith in myself when it was unearned,
mistake,
undeserved, unwarranted. Dr. Phil says that the indicator of any future behavior is most present acted behavior, and I'm always presently acting like an idiot.
Why are you listening to fucking Dr. Phil? First of all, that's why you didn't write that phonetically. Listening to fucking Dr. Phil.
Oh my God. So this is such a deep cut. Back in the day when Loki, my dad's dog, was a feral monster, for some reason, Dr. Phil's voice would calm him down.
That's a bad sign.
And so it was like, I would play Dr. Phil. And you know what? Dr. Phil, like before we knew better, was entertaining.
Yeah.
But I remember that quote for some reason because I think I was going through it at the time.
Yeah, you held it. You wrapped it around your heart.
Yep. So anyway. A legendary strategist of the Three Kingdoms period employed one of the most iconic psychological ploys, and it was the empty fort strategy. So when faced with an overwhelmingly larger force, Liang ordered his troops to retreat, leaving the fortress gates wide open. He then positioned himself atop the hills, calmly playing his lute, projecting an air of complete confidence. And the advancing army, led by Sima Yi, suspected an ambush, because after all, why would Liang leave the gates unguarded unless he had a hidden trap? So paralyzed by doubt, this would get me too.
I'm God already.
I'm like, I'm done. Sima Yi's army turned back, leaving the Liang forces unscathed. And the brilliant use of reverse psychology underscores how perception can dictate action in warfare. By leveraging human psychology, specifically the tendency to overanalyze in the face of uncertainty,
you bet.
Liang achieved victory without engaging in combat. And, quote, it was a battle of wits, not weapons. The enemy was defeated by their own imagination. And this is from Chinese historian Chen Xu in Records of the Three Kingdoms. So let's look at how psychological principles work in action. And specifically, let's look at some more historical examples of the fundamental principles of psyops that transcend time and culture. So first, it's exploiting belief systems. So we have from Cambyses leveraging Egyptian reverence for cats to Alexander adopting local customs. Understanding and manipulating cultural values can undermine an enemy's resolve. You can also leverage fear and reputation. Genghis Khan calculated use of terror and which demonstrates, amplified by storytelling, how someone can achieve submission without physical conflict. You can also manipulate perception. So Liang's empty fort strategy highlighted the power of uncertainty and doubt and how doubt can paralyze an opponent. And finally, winning hearts and minds. Again, Alexander's policy of assimilation showcases psychological tactics and how they can transform conquerors into allies. So psychological warfare, whether ancient or modern, really operates on a single premise. Wars are not only fought with weapons, but also with minds. And by understanding the fears, values, and assumption of your enemies, these historical figures were really able to turn the human psyche into the most potent battleground of all. And as humanity marched into medieval and early modern eras, psyops evolved into a more calculated and theatrical art form. Fear, spectacle, and the power of emerging technologies like the printing press turned psychological warfare into a force capable of controlling entire kingdoms. From forests of impaled bodies to the fiery symbols of rebellion, this era of psyops really pushed the limits on how far minds could be manipulated without a single blade drawn. So let's get a little bit more into the medieval era. This one, we love it. Our very own Dracula inspiration. Yep. We have the 15th century, which introduced the psychological warfare practitioner whose name still invokes dread, Vlad the Impaler. Vlad's reign was defined by his brutal yet calculated use of fear to protect his kingdom from Ottoman incursions. After a decisive battle against the Ottoman Empire, Vlad ordered the impalement of thousands of enemy soldiers. And the gruesome forest of impaled bodies stretched all across his borders, creating a ghastly barrier of visible death to any would-be invaders.
You know what this reminds me of? Have you ever heard of when you're going to take public transportation in big cities specifically, they say, if you look like the person who's going to do the mugging, no one will mug you?
I haven't heard that specifically, but I also don't go anywhere.
Well, if you went somewhere, you would hear that. And that's what this makes me think of.
I think on the flippity flip, because of all of my bad experiences with doctors, I tend to wear business casual when I go to the doctor.
Interesting.
I get treated better.
You think that they're like, oh, this is a professional woman.
Yeah, she's not crazy. Yeah. I'm covering tattoos. My hair is up. I have a respectable eyebrow on.
Yeah, that's a form, girl. That's a form of psychological manipulation.
Man, I am a general in this fight. So Vlad's psychological genius lay in his ability to weaponize terror. The impalement display was not merely an act of barbarism, but also a strategic deterrent. Deterrent. I was going to let you slide with that one, but it's deterrent. It's fine. No, I need you to correct me in these things. Sometimes I get going and then the emphasis hits the wrong syllable. Reports from Ottoman envoys revealed how deeply this tactic unnerved even seasoned warriors. Sultan Mehmed II, upon encountering the forest of corpses during his campaign to conquer Wallachia, reportedly turned back, unable to face such a horrifying resistance. And as historian Radu Florescu observed, Vlad understood that the imagination of men could be a sharper weapon than the blade of a sword. I like that quote.
Yeah, that's hard.
But beyond the battlefield, Vlad also reinforced his fearsome reputation through targeted cruelty. Merchants who cheated him were executed publicly, and even internal rivals were subjected to his gruesome punishments. This ensured both loyalty and submission, demonstrating how psychological warfare could maintain domestic control as effectively as it is deterring foreign enemies.
And that's why he's Dracula, because he didn't just go for the theater of it all. He said, also, I'm going to do some just straight up torture. So get behind it.
Yeah. Scary times. But then it's also like, what are we going through now? This is also scary. Let's go into the Reconquista, the centuries-long campaign to reclaim the Iberian Peninsula from Muslim rule. This was as much of a psychological battle as a military one. By the late 15th century, Spain's Catholic monarchs utilized psychological operations to demoralize their Muslim adversaries. One striking example came through the Granada War in 1490. Hernan Perez de Pulgar, a daring Spanish captain, infiltrated the besieged city of Granada under cover of darkness with a small group of soldiers. He nailed a challenge to the door of the city's central mosque, calling out all of the defenders as cowards, and then set fire to the marketplace. While the material damage was limited, the psychological impact was enormous. Historian Hugh Thomas writes that Pulgar's actions were not meant to destroy property, but to erode the morale of the city's defenders by sowing seeds of doubt and humiliation. And Pulgar's stunts highlights a key principle in psyops. Small, targeted acts can have outsized effects when they exploit an enemy's vulnerabilities. For example, in this case, his actions undermined the morale of Granada's defenders, hastening their eventual surrender and the completion of Spain's Reconquista. Oh, now let's get into the invention of the printing press in the 15th century, which revolutionized the dissemination of information and with it empowered the power of psyops. Propaganda, once limited to oral traditions or handwritten missives, could now be mass-produced and widely distributed. All this does is make me think of Bridgerton. Season 4 is coming out soon.
Oh, I haven't watched it, but I know about the Protestant Reformation, girl, because they're the ones who banned fucking Krampus.
Yes. During the Protestant Reformation, Martin Luther's 95 Theses spread rapidly across Europe thanks to the printing press. These pamphlets not only criticized the Catholic Church, but also challenged its authority, shaking the foundations of European society. For the first time, ideas could reach a mass audience, turning psychological warfare into a battle of ideologies. Quote from Benedict Anderson in Imagined Communities.
You know what I love about this era, though? It's
the messiness?
Well, besides the messiness, this wouldn't have worked on me because it's the DW from Arthur meme that's like,
You can't read.
Yeah, this sign means nothing to me because I can't read.
You're so right. I thought you were going to say something like, I'm too smart, bitch.
No,
No, we would have been dumb and illiterate.
Yeah, we're like
illiterate.
We're barely illiterate now. We're barely literate now. Could you imagine then? Are you kidding me? Like,
I wrote this shit and I'm struggling to get
I can't fucking read.
my God.
Me every day. This sign means nothing to me because I can't read.
For those of you who don't know what's happening behind the scenes, and I don't think Noelle can see it either, I have this little flat magnetic bookmark to hold up underneath the lines as I go, so I don't look.
Are you so fucking serious?
Dude, it's hard because like I bounce from looking at you to this, to you, to this, to you, to this, and I lose my place. There's nothing wrong with it. Look how good it helps me though.
Yeah, remember that like 3 seconds of silence that we had because you didn't know.
Because I couldn't find where we were at. Exactly.
The magnet's working. Yep. Swallow the magnet. Maybe it'll help more.
You know, these are cute too, and I don't think it would hurt to pass it. So maybe someday. If I can't swallow a pill, I'm not swallowing this big ass bookmark though. So the printing press also amplified state-sponsored psyops. Monarchs used it to justify wars, demonize rivals, and rally public support. The 30 Years' War, which went on from 1618 to 1648, for instance.
30 years.
Some may say. Saw a deluge of pamphlets and broadsides, each faction using the new technology to delegitimize the other. And this also marked the beginning of psychological warfare as a tool of not just the armies, but of entire nations. And with the rise of industrialization and global empires, psyops entered a new phase driven by mass communication and the machinery of modern warfare. The printing press gave way to newspapers, leaflets, and propaganda campaigns designed to manipulate populations on an unprecedented scale. As nations clashed on the world stage, psychological warfare became a weapon as essential as rifles, shaping public opinion and weakening enemies before the first shot was even fired. Napoleon Bonaparte understood the power of narrative as a tool of control. He carefully curated his image, presenting himself as a liberator, a man of the people, and a military genius. And his victories were glorified in state-controlled newspapers, while defeats were downplayed or spun to reinforce his invisibility, called it a Roman salute, what have you.
Yeah.
Napoleon's psyops extended to the battlefield. After a victory, he would distribute proclamations promising prosperity and freedom to the conquered, sowing doubt amongst his enemies and winning the loyalty of occupied territories. As historian David Chandler noted, Napoleon was as much of a propagandist as a general, and his wars were fought with ink as much as with blood.
And before we go on, clearly we also saw this work against him when everyone started to out how tiny he was.
Yeah, cute little guy. Wasn't he like 5'7"? Like, I don't even think
he was not even, but that's the thing. People were like, oh, you want to use propaganda to scare us? Guess what? I'm going to draw you as a little man who has to step on a stool to ride his horse. So fuck yourself.
The pettiness of propaganda. I love it when it's petty.
Me too. And historical. Also, before we move on, your little moment about it's a Roman salute. Okay, let me just unpack this for a second.
Yeah.
There are people who are like, hey, you guys, people I care about and respect, who are like, he's too stupid to do like a Nazi salute. Like, he's just too dumb. I think he was just like being a dumb idiot. And I'm like, I've been online. I've seen a lot of like autism made me do it, and it's like something really off, and they're using it as an excuse, and you're like, oh, yeah. I don't really think that's what that is. I have never seen someone be like, I'm so autistic, I do Nazi salutes instead of waving to crowds. I've never heard that as an excuse.
It's because it's bullshit, Noelle.
I know, but it's like, and here's the thought within a thought within a thought. This is the psychological warfare of it all. Elon Musk has presented himself as such a soft-bodied little freak who is almost like out of control of his limbs and uncoordinated and like icky. Like, I think of The Jump, the like,
yeah,
you have flailing, to be flailing, unathletic. You almost have to try to look that disgusting and low to the ground while making like the little star shape. And he has that, right? But then he's also like an evil billionaire. And that's not to say he's a genius. Billionaires aren't geniuses. They're just unethical, which is how they get their money. They just have no morality.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yes, he is a bumbling fat fool who is uncoordinated and sloppy and is like falling out of his pants and shirt at all times. But I also don't think he's stupid enough to be like, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just a little silly guy. I'm just a little awkward. I don't buy that.
You want to know how I know he isn't? Because after he did it, he tweeted, "I did not see that coming."
God, he is such a fucking, this stupid little bitch.
He is the stupidest bitch.
He fucking tweets like a 2010s Disney adult.
Yeah.
And it drives me fucking insane. Not even an edgelord. At least edgelords are saying things that make you chuckle and go, Jesus Christ. Like, he's saying shit that was funny when people were like, Irma Gerd, whatever that meme was.
He has like Deadpool humor.
Gershbumps. Yeah. No, not even. Worse than that. Worse than Deadpool humor. Beyond past that, it was like the meme of like the baby with the fist. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the victory like baby meme.
That era of memes. It's like literally 2010s Disney adult, and he's saying it out loud. He's not even letting like images speak for itself. He's literally saying like Irma Gerd Gershbums. And I'm like,
Hot Topic humor. And I'm not even saying that to hate on Hot Topic. But it's like
old Hot Topic humor. No.
It's raw. It's like the raw
XD. It is the fucking chive, bitch. It's the chive. It's the fucking chive humor. And it makes me want to be like, electric chair, electric chair, electric chair. So anyway, all that to say, like, I agree that he's a fucking dumb bitch tit idiot loser who should be assassinated in Roblox. But I also think that he's not stupid enough to be like, I'm just a silly little guy who accidentally, you know what I mean? So anyway, go on.
I hate people who are like bending over backwards trying to find an excuse for why he would do a Nazi salute.
It's not even like an excuse. It's like we can't give him that much credit for being like that maniacal.
Yes, we can.
I'm like, I think we can, but
yeah, it's absolutely insane to me.
The fact that anyone would even have that thought is proof that his psychological warfare of being like a dumb idiot while also being a strategic billionaire is working.
I really wish that we could bring back bullying, man.
Oh my God, I try so hard. Before I deleted Twitter, I bullied him super hard on my main account, not my bully Elon account.
Yeah, Noelle's Twitter at the end was so feral. That was as someone who didn't tweet, but I had a Twitter. It was usually just to see Noelle's memes when she would send me the most vile posts. That we can't mention here.
No.
It was really ranted and vile towards the end there. Man.
But let's also say that like for a while before Twitter reworked its algorithm, you would immediately get flagged for saying, I think someone should put a bullet in Elon's head in Fortnite. Minus the in Fortnite part, right? You would get immediately banned. Before you even post it, it would like say like warning, you know what I mean? And then you'd post it and you'd get banned. They did not have that on images though. So I would take like really gruesome images and then like Photoshop Elon's face on it and stuff. And I'm not just talking about like, I started like pussyfooting around with putting his face on JFK, like in the assassination pictures. And then I was like going into like war crime photos from like photo archives of the military.
Yeah.
So.
No, you did good, kid.
Thanks.
I was really proud of you.
Thank you.
And it was funny. So.
I thought it was.
We can't say any of it here. We can't even say it on Patreon, but it was good.
I wasn't doing it under my real name. We'll just say that's how bad it was. So anyway, go on.
So the First World War marked a turning point for psyops as a systematic military tool. The British launched some of the earliest organized psyop campaigns, and they dropped millions of leaflets over German trenches. And these leaflets offered humane treatment for surrendering soldiers and emphasized the futility of resistance. Meanwhile, the Germans targeted the British Empire's colonies, distributing propaganda designed to incite rebellion in India and Ireland. And although less effective, these efforts showcase the global reach of psychological warfare. Psyops became a war within a war, wrote historian Niall Ferguson, a battle to control the mind as much as the battlefield. And the 20th century unleashed the full potential of psychological warfare, transforming it into the cornerstone of total war. With the advent of radio, film, and global conflict, psyops became more sophisticated, targeting not just soldiers, but an entire civilian population. From clandestine propaganda infiltrating enemy systems to ideologies waging war in the Cold War's shadowy arenas, this was a golden age of manipulation on a massive scale. And World War II saw the peak of psyops ingenuity. The Allies, Operation Cornflakes, so cute and fun, involved the creation of counterfeit Nazi newspapers filled with subversive content. These fake newspapers were inserted into German postal systems, which eroded civilian trust in their government. In the Pacific theater, the U.S. dropped leaflets over Japanese cities, warning of impending bombs, and urged civilians to evacuate. Radio broadcasts reinforced these messages, which amplified their psychological toll. And the goal was not just to weaken the enemy's will, but to save lives by reducing resistance, noted military historian John Keegan.
Before you get into the Cold War, weren't cornflakes invented to stop people from masturbating?
I think so. I think we did the whole Kellogg's thing,
I think
right?
wasn't that it? Wasn't it cornflakes? So
yeah,
interesting that they chose Operation Cornflakes. There's always a reason within a reason, but are you looking it up?
No.
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure it's cornflakes, right?
Cornflakes and Kellogg's was definitely we've talked about it before.
Yeah, the anti-masturbation cereal. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, go on to the Cold War.
Thank you. The Cold War shifted psyops from battlefields to ideologies. The CIA's covert funding of cultural programs, such as literary magazines and art exhibitions, projected American values of freedom and democracy. Meanwhile, the Soviets engaged in disinformation campaigns by spreading false narratives to destabilize Western democracies.
And the CIA's events went beyond cultural programs to influencing the media directly. Through Operation Mockingbird, the CIA recruited journalists and planted stories in prominent news outlets to shape public opinion at home and abroad, controlling narratives that the U.S. democracy was painted as the ultimate form of governance, while communism was a threat to freedom and made you poor.
And the KGB's active measures included fabricating documents, planning fake news, and supporting insurgent movements in the Third World. Both sides weaponized information to shape global perceptions, which turned the Cold War into a psychological battlefield. And as the world transitioned into the digital age, psyops found an even more insidious and far-reaching battlefield: the internet. Social media platforms, algorithms, and instant communication have turned psychological warfare into a relentless, borderless campaign where minds can be swayed by a single viral post. In this era of disinformation and digital manipulation, the fight for hearts and minds has shifted from battlefields to screens, with consequences more profound than ever before. In the 21st century, social media has become the front line of psychological warfare. During the 2016 U.S. presidential election, Russian operatives used fake accounts, bots, and targeted ads to sow division amongst voters. And these campaigns amplified polarizing issues, which eroded trust in the democratic institutions. Cyber security expert Bruce Schneier, that's too many syllables for me. The digital battlefield is one of algorithms and attention. Control the narrative and you control the outcome.
Also, that was incredible. But shout out to your husband and his book club that I'm not a part of, but sometimes he tells me that they read. They read a book called The Chaos Machine: The Inside Story of How Social Media Rewired Our Minds and Our Worlds, which I recommend everyone read. I'm pretty sure you can even listen to it for free on Spotify if you have Spotify Premium. So it's incredible. But it's a deep dive into social media platforms being intentionally designed to manipulate user behavior and psychology. And they use specific examples like the above mentioned 2016 election. And they also go into statistics from like whistleblowers and people within the companies. So Facebook's own studies from 2018 revealed that their algorithm encouraged divisiveness because polarizing content generated more engagement. One researcher wrote, quote, "Our algorithms exploit the human's brain's attraction to divisiveness. If left unchecked, Facebook will feed users more and more divisive content to gain user attention." And this didn't just fuck with our elections and was later linked to January 6th, but Facebook had a direct role in the Rohingya genocide. The Rohingya, a Muslim minority group in Myanmar, faced widespread discrimination and prosecution, culminating in a violent military crackdown in 2017 that the UN later described as a genocide. Facebook was the primary internet platform in Myanmar, with millions of users relying on it as their sole source of news. The platform was flooded with hate speech, false rumors, and dehumanizing propaganda targeting the Rohingya. Posts and pages, some linked to Myanmar's military, spread messages labeling the Rohingya as terrorists and calling for their eradication. Fake news and inflammatory images were amplified, such as doctored photos falsely showing them burning Buddhist villages. And these posts incited fear and hatred, escalating ethnic tensions. The misinformation directly contributed to the mobilization of mobs and violent attacks against the Rohingya. More than 700,000 Rohingya fled to Bangladesh and thousands were killed. It wasn't until 2018, after years of criticism, that Facebook admitted it had been, quote, too slow to prevent the spread of misinformation and hate speech in Myanmar. The company removed accounts and pages linked to the military, but faced backlash for its lack of oversight and delayed response. And in a more, also off of that, like Facebook was being told, hey, in Myanmar, they use Facebook as the news. It's their main source of information, how they talk to each other and how information is like spread. And there's some really fucking insane shit going on right now. You guys need to get this under control. There was some outrageous number, extremely low number of translators that Facebook had hired. I think it was in the single digits. So they were being told, hey, this is literally inciting violence and riots and genocide. You need to do something about it because your platform is being used as the hub. And they're like, as their like 3 translators were like, holy fucking shit. And there was even like video, like live video on Facebook of an attack on like a Muslim at his place of work because a Facebook story used his image in a doctored like, look what they're doing, burning temples. So it was really fucked up and evil. But in a more lighthearted than genocide note, but still insane thing, YouTube's autoplay feature has been criticized for leading viewers down radicalization rabbit holes. For instance, users watching content about healthy eating could be led to extreme diet advice, conspiracy theories, and of course, the one of topic, the manosphere, with people like Andrew Tate, because the algorithm prioritizes, quote, sticky content.
Fucking Andrew Tate. I hate him. He looks terrible, by the way. Have you seen any recent photos of him? He is not handling prison well. And this guy, I'm pointing to myself, loves to see it.
Yeah.
He looks disgusting.
Yeah, his 17 balding spots look like the Hawaiian Islands.
Oh my God. He looks like a beta. And I love to say that about him. Fucking beta male. Beta. So in 2022, reports revealed that the U.S. military psyops units had created fake social media accounts to promote pro-Western narratives in regions like Afghanistan and Russia. The Pentagon faced backlash over the ethical implications of these tactics. And as public trust in online platforms continued to erode, this controversy highlighted the delicate balance between strategic influence and the risk of undermining democratic values. And the digital revolution has not only amplified the reach of psyops, but has also ignited profound ethical dilemmas. How far should we go when it comes to manipulating minds, even for perceived noble causes? Because when does the line between strategy and exploitation blur irreparably? And as artificial intelligence, deepfakes, and data harvesting redefine the tools of psychological warfare, the future of psyops teeters on a razor's edge. Its potential as a force for both protection and harm are going to shape human trust and all of our autonomy moving forward. And as psychological operations evolve, we're going to start seeing newer shaped narratives and how influencing behaviors across battlefields, modern politics, and digital landscapes. One question is going to remain really paramount. How can we as individuals defend ourselves against such pervasive manipulation? And luckily, there is an article about that from medium.com. It's called Defending Yourself Against Psychological Operations. So let's try to prepare you for the oncoming.
Let's learn.
One, awareness, Noelle. Knowing is half the battle. A key element of psyops is stealth and repetition. The subtle exposure to ideas, what cognitive scientists call the mere exposure effect, can make information feel familiar and, by extension, persuasive. Understanding that psyops are being waged is the first step towards immunity. And awareness disrupts the cycle of influence by encouraging critical thinking and skepticism. So there's some practical steps here. Recognize the patterns of repetition and messaging, particularly in media and online discourse. If an idea seems ubiquitous, question its origin and intent. And second, look for the Russell conjugation in framing techniques. So, for example, consider how terms like migrants, illegal aliens, and undocumented workers evoked distinct emotional responses despite describing the same group of people. How they use that terminology is how you can tell what they're trying to direct you towards.
Yeah.
So, quote to remember, if you understand that psyops are being waged, you will take things less at face value.
And I also wanted to add, be aware of the times and the ever-changing online space. It's always been said that like we are in this rapid change portion of history where things that took 100 years of progression in the past take days or hours and hours. And I think it's really in the world of like AI technology and deepfakes. So the rise of deepfake technology makes it easier than ever to create convincing fake videos or audio recordings. Awareness and technological literacy are critical for identifying media manipulation. And there's an example from 2022 of a deepfake of President Vladimir Zelensky urging his troops to surrender that circulated online. The video was quickly debunked, but it demonstrated the potential for deepfakes to influence public opinion and spread chaos. So just some practical steps. Use tools like Deepware Scanner or InVid to verify the authenticity of videos and look for inconsistencies in shadows, lip movements, or audio-visual alignments. Obviously, we all know the like AI-generated images that your grandma likes on Facebook, but the real psyops know what you're looking for, know that there's that like very specific brand of AI generated looks that most people can catch on to. So they're getting smarter with it with like deepfakes. So
there's like new Reddit trends where it's like spot the deepfake and they post all these different photos and I haven't gotten any of them right yet. So
dude, yeah, it's
scary.
It's very scary. I think that's where they're the InVid, INVID, and Deepware Scanner, like using actual tools to try to find it because it's getting hard to distinguish with the human eye. I mean, we even had a potential, I think it was because it was deleted, a potential deepfake thread on the Are We Dating the Same Guy Salt Lake City group.
Yeah.
Where this girl went on this entire story about how she matched with this guy and they were like texting for a while and then they finally went on a first date and it was a little like she was like, okay, I'm not really vibing with him. Like this is it. She gets dropped off and that she thinks that's that. She goes into her basement and sees his wallet and she's like, what the fuck? He's never been in my house. She texts him and he admits to living in her walls. Okay, but I'm making it sound really bad and stupid, but the way it was being played out and people were asking questions naturally and the story was like unraveling naturally. And
Yeah.
then she posted a picture of him and I looked at the picture. I was like, yeah, that's a man who would live in your walls. And everyone's like, call the police. Da, 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 da. And then
Uh-huh.
as she was like acting very nonchalant and was like, my mom's telling me I'm being exaggerative. People were like, hey, that's fucking insane. And then like one brave soul was like, have you guys actually really looked at the picture she posted? Like, there's something funky going on with the bottom
Yeah.
row of teeth. They were like blurry a little bit, but like you could barely tell. But if
You
you
had to
zoomed in,
I had to open Photoshop to like zoom in close
yeah,
enough.
zoom in all the way, and you were like, oh, that is like a little bit of a blur on the tooth, but everything else was unclockable. So
Yeah.
it's scary out there.
Yeah, we gotta protect ourselves.
Yeah. Be like Scully, question everything.
Yeah. Everything.
Everything.
So
You can go now.
the second is you have to kind of think like the enemy. So AI is going to emphasize the importance of understanding your vulnerabilities through strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what would you do to undermine another version of yourself is probably like the main thing you want to think about. It will help uncover blind spots, but also prepare you to anticipate potential attacks. So, practical steps are think about your own cognitive biases and how easy they would be to be exploited. So, for instance, confirmation bias makes people susceptible to disinformation that aligns with their beliefs. It's the way that our entire political movement thought we could win this election.
Yeah, I thought we had it in the bag.
That's like exactly an example that we can use because we were like, there's no way. There is no way that Trump is going to win this.
Well, you want to talk about echo chambers. Like, if you reached out to a demographic that we are probably in and everyone listening is probably in, and you asked them, you went back in a time machine and you asked them, like, in the heat of right after Kamala was announced as the new choice for the Dems, and you said, how do you think this is going? Everyone would be like, dude, she's fucking slaying. Whoever they have on the TikTok interns are crushing it. Like, they're so tapped in. They're so tapped into the young vote. Like, they're just so tapped into the zeitgeist. Like, it's insane. I've never seen a political campaign run with such timely and like plenty and just like they get it. They're doing it. You take a step just 1 degree outside of that echo chamber and you're like, what? What the fuck do you mean Kamala is Brett? Like that is the perfect example. But like inside of that echo chamber, like even some of the girls I'm friends with were like, this is the most incredible, da, 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 da. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty slay. And then you are like, oh, the electrician down the street who usually votes blue is like, what does Kamala is Brett mean? And that's how you know you're fucking out of touch.
We're like, oh no.
The echo chamber is echoing.
Yeah. They didn't talk about the issues that apparently other voters care about.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't admit that there is a problem. They just did some little dances and memes.
Yeah. But I really liked all the highlights of just calling Republicans weird. I was like, this is the best.
That was a good strategy. If they really stuck with that and then were like, not to derail, but if they stuck with that, like just calling Republicans weird and then tied in like the contradictory things that they've said and done, and then we're like, that's weird. That would be a slay way to do both things, both admit and acknowledge that there's a problem and be like silly, goofy guy.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So
yeah. I wish we could have gotten like Waltz in the White House, man. I loved him. And I loved his little family.
Yeah, I loved him too, but I knew that it like wouldn't win because you need to like balance. You have to play the game. If you were going to have Kamala run, you needed to pick a VP that would hit the like working class.
Yeah.
And he was just so lovable and like the dad figure everyone wanted, and that's not the vote who's going to get the guy who like hates his dad, you know,
right?
Like works in the coal mines. Like that's not going to get him.
Yeah, they didn't. I think Bernie Sanders really nailed it of like nobody was addressing the working man who is like, how are you gonna like, I don't give a shit about like these issues. How are you gonna make my job better? Like, I don't have medical coverage right now.
Not only were they not addressing the like working men, they weren't addressing honestly, like they weren't admitting that there was a problem. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's where the Republicans got a leg up because they were like, fuck this economy, like eggs are fucking crazy. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix it. Even though it's all lies, like that part that I'm gonna fix it if you vote for me is lies. The Dems were just like, everything's cool, chill, and fine. Like they weren't admitting that there was big fucking hurdles to overcome and shit was going not well. They were just kind of ignoring that. So it went even beyond that. But I don't know, bummer. 2020
it is a bummer,
vision.
Noelle. What a hot take. Bummer of the century.
Well, I don't know, dude. The Democratic Party has been disappointing me for like the last fucking 3 election cycles.
Yeah,
and it just keeps getting progressively worse and worse and worse. And they just like lie to our face. Like after Trump's first term, they were like, we need to tap into the young vote. And then they put up the fucking Crypt Keeper again. And you're like, Jesus fucking Christ. And I don't know, you get like young voices that are left leaning like AOC. And then she gets just absolutely demolished by her own side, by the Dems. So
yeah,
it's not surprising, but it is disappointing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an issue forever. I don't ever see. Well, you know what? We're way off topic.
Yeah,
we all know what happened.
Yeah, we know.
We know what happened. We don't have to talk about it anymore. But what you can do to remain healthy in the psyop war is regularly challenge your assumptions by exposing yourself to opposing viewpoints and arguments. Sometimes I pop over into conservative Reddit threads just to see what's going on.
Not to promote him even more than I already do, but Hassan Piker, he streams on Twitch every day. He does a great job of when he's covering the news, popping between all of it, like CNN, Fox, NBC, like popping between all of it to see what they're all saying about the different things. And it's where I saw, and again, this is like get out of your own echo chamber. When he was showing some Fox News coverage, the Fox News anchors were literally saying, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is literally what they were saying, like, when are we going to stop being mean to billionaires? Because like they're the ones creating jobs. And that's when I was like, holy shit, dude. We are so fucking cooked. Like these bitches are on live TV being like, you guys will be mean to a billionaires. And I'm like, no fucking way, dude. Absolutely no fucking way. But that's the conversation they're having. You think like everyone's saying free Luigi and kill a CEO. They're saying, you guys, everyone will be mean to the billionaires and they be making jobs and we love jobs. So they're so smart. That's literally what they're saying. So anyway.
It's a bummer. And it's true. Like, fuck, dude. I can't. Yeah, we did it again. We did it again.
Sorry. Cultivate diverse, reliable sources.
PsyOps thrive on informational silos. The Medium article advises cultivating a wide and varied list of resources to ensure a well-rounded perspective. For example, Noelle, would you let a dentist fix your car? Would you take financial advice from your hairdresser? I'm sure you would. We both know your hairdresser, and she's very smart. But you know what I mean? Yeah. You wouldn't download a car, Noelle. And information should be approached with the same level of discernment. So you have to avoid relying on single platforms and sources. Seek out experts in specific fields rather than generalist outlets. And regularly cross-check information across multiple reputable sources, including those with differing viewpoints.
I think of when Bill Burr was on Rogan and Joe Rogan was trying to like goat him into talking about like you not really
masking
you really think that people should be wearing a mask. And Bill Burr was like, man, I'm not going to fucking get in this with you. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck am I? We're not fucking scientists. We're not fucking doctors. We don't fucking know. And I was like, dude, yeah, that's literally it.
I'm a grown ass man with a cigar talking to you on your podcast in the middle of the day.
Yeah, talking to you on your podcast that covers aliens and conspiracy theories, smoking a cigar inside. We're not fucking doing this. And I was like, that's tea, girl. That's the fucking tea. And speaking of that, what is that called? That's called Media literacy, girl. So leveraging media literacy education. PsyOps thrive where media literacy is lacking by teaching people to evaluate sources, understand biases, and recognize disinformation. We can build societal resistance against manipulation. I'll never forget, and I say this with so much love in my heart. My own father shared something on Facebook that was insane. I was like, this is the most insane claim and statistic I've ever heard in my fucking life. I bet that it's not real. All I did was 2 clicks. I went to the page that shared it, and then I went to the page that they linked from. And what was that main page? Some fucking anti-vax, QAnon, full-blown like collage about Q, like Sandy Hook truther. I was like, you motherfucker. But it only took 2 clicks. And I was like, Dad, did you not fucking look to see where this goddamn stat was coming from? I know that you looked at that and thought it was juicy and delicious and like, oh my God, this is crazy. Yeah, it is crazy because it's not true and it's made up. 2 fucking clicks. 2 clicks is all it took was to see that the same people who were like, all those dead kids are actors and they're living in the Bahamas was posting that fucking shit. So
yeah, my sister did the same thing. She was like, did you know that they killed, like Biden made the army kill thousands of dogs? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she shared this article and I was like, first off, don't share this shit with me if it's real. Second off, it isn't fucking real. So
yeah,
what's your problem? Yeah, media literacy, and big one.
What's interesting, so Finland is often applauded for its media literacy curriculum it introduced in schools to combat misinformation. Students learn how to assess news sources, identify clickbait, and detect propaganda. As a result, Finland consistently ranks as one of the most resistant countries to disinformation in Europe. I took a computer class, and I'm 32 years old. I took a computer class where we learned how to type, and they also taught us media literacy, like how to go to a website and see the sources that it's citing. And that if it doesn't have any sources cited and it's claiming all of this fucking shit, then you shouldn't believe it because they're making it the fuck up. I was even taught, don't trust Wikipedia all the time.
Yeah.
If you're looking at something at Wikipedia, you need to go see what the source is that they're cited and physically go to that website and check it out for yourself and make sure it like hits all these points. Is it dated? Does it have an author? Does it show where the author was educated? Does it show the cited sources that the author used to write this? Are they the sole source? Have they linked out to other things? Are they affiliated with this? Like, I'm not a part of the like technology generation, and I was taught media literacy. Obviously, I know that the most susceptible group is the one above us.
Yeah.
Because even though you're a dinosaur, we both came into schooling and education when I was in elementary school and you were finishing your degree. Computers were introduced.
But I was deciding whether or not I wanted to move into the home or not.
Yeah.
That's when I was.
Yeah. Computers were around and we were like taught about them. We're taught to use them. So I know that the generation above us didn't have that, and that sucks. And there are like libraries and even fucking Apple, the Apple Store does like media literacy and technology literacy classes for free. Like they're around. You just have to look into it. Also, like help your fucking parents, not in a cunty way like me sometimes, but just that outside of itself, the younger generations who are born into it that don't know a world without it, I feel like that curriculum is lost on them.
Yeah.
Because they're doing it too.
And then also it's like making it like non-accessible. Like you have to be accessible to teach people that shit. And it sucks because I'm like, I had to learn it, but I got to learn it by being immersed in it. It's like almost teaching a second language. Yeah.
It's just like, I know public school sucks, but like I went to public school and they taught us how to like media literacy, like online literacy. I don't know.
Same.
It's fucking insane.
So
anyway,
well, next is to resist emotional manipulation. So emotionally charged narratives are the hallmark of psyops. Large movements, simplified sound bites, and outrage-inducing headlines are designed to bypass rational thinking. Medium cautions that complex and nuanced answers are often the right ones, while simple answers are easier to propagate. So you have to avoid knee-jerk reactions to emotionally provocative content, and you have to seek out the full story. If something seems overly simplified, it probably is. Next, practice critical thinking and don't jump to conclusions. The article highlights that the importance of understanding how worldview filters information. So, immediate reactions are often shaped by biases, assumptions, and heuristics. Your initial reaction is probably wrong. So, you have to read beyond the headline and you have to familiarize yourself with common cognitive biases. Next is to question authority without rejecting expertise. So the Milgram and Stanford prison experiments demonstrate the power of authority and how it can influence behavior. Psyops often leverage this principle to build trust in deceptive sources. However, media warns against rejecting all authority outright. Don't reject the scientists, reject the presidency. Mm-hmm. Understand the basics will help you not only you, but it will also help the experts in the community get like more information out. But definitely approach authority figures and institutions with healthy skepticism and embrace the scientific community. Next is to consider the other side. Don't care about that. And lastly, that's just to rely on original sources and studies. If you're convinced that your viewpoint is correct, you should have no trouble reviewing the other side because you have the facts.
That's the real truth of it all is like, if you are really so sure in your convictions, then you should have no problem looking at what the other side is saying and be like, holy shit, that's insane.
Yeah. So, and last is to detox from information overload. So in the age of constant connectivity, the stress and anxiety induced by psyops can really lead to mental fatigue. You have to take a break from the stress of the world, and that in itself is an act of rebellion. So start limiting social media, news platforms, delete your Twitter, delete your Facebook, go to Discord. Reddit has started to ban X, Twitter, any meta links, so Reddit might be a good place to go to.
There's also Blue Sky, which is the new Twitter. So
yeah, it keeps showing me only cats, which is annoying. I gotta fix my algorithm. But also go outside and touch grass.
Yeah, touch grass, dude. Roll around in it.
So lastly, it's just defending against psyops really does require vigilance, critical thinking, and a commitment to self-education. We all have to do better at recognizing manipulative tactics. We have to diversify information sources, and we have to foster intellectual humility. And then only then can we build a resilience in the face of psychological manipulation. So remember, just read widely, deeply, and relax. In the war for your mind, taking care of yourself is an act of defiance.
Oh, that's such a great way to end it. That's a great quote.
Thank you.
One of my favorite quotes by The Art of War is never interrupt your enemy while they're in the process of making a mistake. Something like that. And I think about that often.
And we were not interrupted during Brat Girl Summer, which was...
we weren't. They were like, yeah, you guys are doing awesome. That's so slay of you. So anyway, I love that. That was so... I will say when you talked about this episode, you presented it in a way I was like, oh, we're going to talk about like conspiracy psyops. I didn't realize you were going to go into like the actual history of psyops. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's a good call out, Noelle, because I didn't go into it well at all.
I thought you did. I thought you did great. I thought you were going to go like down the conspiracy lane, and when I
went
down reality,
I didn't explain it well at all because I was so tired.
Yeah, I was like, okay, we can do that. But this was a way better surprise, and I love it. So thanks for that. I hope everyone participates in media literacy and understanding when they're being got.
Yeah, we don't want to get got. We want to be the gotters.
Exactly.
That are gotting, not gotting, getting. That are gotting,
not getting.
Yep.
Speaking of getting, you can get the link in all of our bios. We are at Go to Hell Podcast. I am at Noelle Fain. That is at Sith Lard. And in that link tree, you can find a link to our Patreon. $1 gets you in. You can find a link to our merch. 100% of proceeds are donated. Sorry if you hear Cora snoring. She's jumping so close to the mic. You can also find a link to Kelly Holloran or at Wildwood Owl on Etsy. She makes cool shit for us and she makes cool shit in general. And speaking of cool shit for us, she just made some super fucking awesome, sick, dope, cool art of us as saints. And she like let us know the concept, but she really surprised me with the outcome. It was so fucking cool. Her brain is beautiful. And we are going to be making merch with the design, and those proceeds will be donated. We were talking with her about where we wanted it to go, and it's going to be like the generalization of like helping the animals from the Palisades fire and the Pasadena Humane Society again, and also any like anti-Trump organizations that are going on. So we have to look a little bit more into that to figure out who's a good group to donate to. And that's just also a reminder to check out your local mutual aid. We found a new one this morning, which was Armed Queers of Salt Lake City. So shout out, dude. Also in our link tree, you can find a link to our Discord server. Check us out there because we're not on Facebook and Facebook groups. We still have a Facebook, unfortunately, for the podcast, but I will be very easily convinced to delete it. Chelsea's the one who loves Facebook.
I am. I was thinking today, I was thinking long and hard about what would really be impacted if I left Facebook, and it would just be I wouldn't see my bout photos anymore from roller derby, but that.
Yeah, like what does Facebook do for the podcast is like the question.
No, Facebook I don't think does anything.
The Facebook group is dead, even though I saw a few of you sad reacting in the Facebook group. No one has posted in that bitch for like a fucking year. And you came out of the woodwork with a sad react because I said I'm deleting it.
You want to know what? I posted something in the Facebook group, and it was the Columbine shooters making out in pornography style, and someone reported it. So
that's how I know Facebook is not a safe space.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, why would you report this? This is fucking hilarious.
I was like, we can't even live in happiness here. I remember that. We got a ban for that fucking Columbine shooters pornography fan fiction.
It was just them making out, man. It was sick.
It was pretty hilarious. But yeah, so anyway, to those people who sad reacted that, knock it off. Yeah. Knock it off. You weren't there. Don't act like you're fucking sad. Fuck? What? You're faking. You're faking and lying. So
it's cute if you think we have to close it down for any reason that was like a personal attack, but no, it was just
we just don't fucking like Facebook. So no more sad reacts. Get on Discord, or we're still on Instagram, or you can find us on YouTube and talk to us or bully us in the comments there. I think that would be a fun medium. Like use the YouTube algorithm in our benefit. Just start bullying us there because I won't report it. I'll reply to it.
I don't think I'll report anything. I don't have reporting. I don't have that in me.
I reported something for you.
Yeah, that's because that was hateful. You reported hate against me. I had actual hate speech. I couldn't believe it.
Oh my god. It's just like the SpongeBob. I lost something once.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was me reporting it for you. Little did I know. It's just because you're like, I won't report. And I was like, I'll do it. But anyway, so Discord, we're bringing Discord back. Also, this is me publicly shaming Chelsea. Don't just make me be on the Discord. Sometimes it's just me in there. You need to get on there too.
I know. I'm moving. I will move I will be better at looking at Discord.
Okay, thank you. And that also goes to you, listener. Be better at fucking Discord. Get off of fucking Facebook and Twitter and get on Discord where the Nazis are not. So at least in our fucking Discord channel. But we also have links to, we still have the donations for the Pasadena Humane Society. We have the links to help the people in Gaza, both financially and if you don't have the means to help financially, ways that you can help for free. I think that's it. Jesus Christ, Cora.
Yeah, I'll post the Discord invite in the show notes.
Yeah, and we're also going to be putting our Pokemon, the card game, user IDs in the Discord. So
I already put mine in there.
Well, I'm going to. So add us on there too. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Wait, what? We can't go like that.
Sorry.
God. We have to say goodbye to Jesus. Last time we didn't say our names. This time we don't say, I hope you heard Cora just cough up that hairball. So I will sign off as, hold on. Go lay down. This is insane. This house is falling apart. I want to give a hail to not just Satan, but also David Lynch, who left this mortal coil. Why is it always the people we love and not Woody Allen? I'll never fucking know. But this is my hail to David Lynch for calling Cora's hairballs in
God.
the background. She's so fucking disgusting. But anyway, she's still doing it.
My God, dude.
For just transcending this reality and just being once in a lifetime creative and artist. I was sorry if this is TMI, but I don't care. I was starting my period around the time that he died, so I was very fucking emotional. I cried for like 2 days, just solid, hot, silent tears. And I was talking to my partner about it, and he was like, first of all, he was 74 and like smoked 1 million packs of cigarettes a day. So what did we expect? And I said, yes, but he goes, no, it's true. But also think about how lucky we are to be living in the same timeline as him. Isn't that incredible to say? And I'm like, no, that's so true. So I am very thankful to have lived in the same timeline as him. Just the definition of an artist, really, just not making it for anyone other than himself. Didn't care what you thought of it, just knew it had to be done. So yeah, hail David Lynch.
And hail Nicolas Cage in that David Lynch movie you made
Wild
me watch, which I liked.
at Heart.
Wild at Heart. That was amazing. So.
Yeah. So okay, now we can get out of here.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Hell's Gate is a supernatural roller derby comic book series dripping of blood, demons, and glitter. Saya is a fresh meat skater with a dangerous crush on her favorite derby player. Desperate to be accepted, she attempts to cast a magic spell in hopes of winning her idol's admiration, but instead unleashes a demonic possession that seeks to destroy her and her team at that night's Halloween game. The first issue is out now. Visit hellsgate.com to get your limited edition copy today.